Ready, so we remove the tire, 5 lugs, we have the jack stand for emergency purposes and security purposes. You don't want this to fall on you. We're gonna open up the caliper and remove the caliper base. To open up the caliper, you have to have a pretty strong flathead. I have this one and I have this one. So let's get to it. Opened all the way. That's it. It's that simple. It's open all the way. Now, if you want to make sure it's open, you stick the screwdriver in and you play with it. Okay, so that's how you open the caliper. It's very easy. So we'll remove these bolts and we'll go from there. Very dirty. Very, very dirty. Okay. We do have our brush. So we'll brush all the dust out of it. And once we have brushed most of the dust, don't forget the spray. And we'll go quick shower. So quick shower. You don't have to do it very good. This is just for the outside, so let it dry and we'll remove the bolts. Alrighty, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a 04 Honda Pilot rear brake pads and rear rotors. It's about a 45-minute job. Hopefully I can fast forward all this to 15 minutes so you guys can get to it. Like I said, welcome back to my channel. Let's get to it. Remember, Milwaukee comes in clutch. First things first, before we remove the tire, make sure you got the jack in a good spot and make sure you got a jack stand for extra security. Next thing, we check and verify that the brakes are low, which they are. So we're gonna redo this. Let me go get some gloves to get started. Alrighty, and this is a good time to promote my gloves. These are my personal gloves. I know you go to a auto store and you guys get some really good gloves and pay $20. Mine are only $14, and if you're in LA area, San Bernardino area, it's free delivery. Minimum 3 boxes. So I have them. Let me know. What I usually do is put one of these on the bottom. These are the cheapy ones. Extra large. Very cheap. They rip right away, but it helps out with the other ones get more grip, and they're very tight, so they're good just to wear a secondary. All right, here comes the good ones. So we already went over the safety measurements first. Make sure you have the jack on a good secure place, and I might fast forward a lot of this, so bear with me. We're gonna try to do this job within 10 minutes so that I can keep the video very short. Unfortunately, I had to get my gloves, everything ready so that we can continue. All right, so let's start off with the okay, we're gonna remove the caliper. The caliper has two size 12 or size 10. I think it's gonna be size 12. So we'll start off with the 12. Okay. For the rotors, I usually use a wrench, size 12 wrench. It's a lot easier and faster to work with. Okay, so that one's loose. And now this one. There we go. Okay, so we have this one loose. We'll remove one. And we'll remove the second one. All right. And let's get it out. This is easy. All right, so we have it. This one is the inner. We'll grab our flathead and pop it out. All right. So we were at 20%. 20% good. Remember, always remember which one goes where. This one has no whistler. I call it a whistler because it's supposed to let you know when your brakes are going low, even though there's other ways to find out, but no whistler. This is on this side. Then we'll come back and get this one out of here. Ooh, 5%. They're going bare metal almost. All right, so good thing we got to them. So this one had the whistler, but when you drag them down this low, it just breaks. So remember, the one with the whistler always goes in the inner. The one without it goes in the outer. All right, so let's move forward. Now we have to remove the bracket in order to get to the rotor, and this I will let you know how it goes. We have one bolt right here and one bolt right here, and those, I believe, they're size 15s or 14s, but we're gonna try 15 first, and then we'll move over to 14. Ready? We have removed the two size 14 bolts. They are very hard to remove, but we got to them. Here's the base. We'll remove this and put it down here. We're gonna clean it up and reuse the hardware for the brake pads, because the ones customer got do not have hardware. So we'll be using the same ones. We'll give it a little cleanup, shine up, and reuse them. Okie dokie. So now to get to the rotor, we have Philip, and it'll come right out. Remember, these are very hard to get out. If you mess them up, the only way to get them out is if you drill them out. So let's try to get them to come out nice and soft. I'll be back with the video. Let's fill up 2 of them. This is my personal way of removing this one. I have these special Pittsburgh screwdrivers that have a little wrench in the back, and they pop right out. Look, bam! I'll show you. So they have a size 13 wrench, and with pressure you can remove the bolt. I'll do this one so you guys can see the process. Okay, so you press it down, and voila! There we go. So that's how you remove. That's how you remove the rotor. This is going to be the right hand rotor in the rear for a 2004 Honda Pilot. And once you do that, then again, remember, you have to release the emergency brake. Emergency brake, you gotta press it to remove it, and you gotta release it to change the brakes. I'll be back with the video. Okay, so we'll do same process. Reinstall the rotor, tie the 2 screws hand tight, and then once it's hand tight, we'll grab the impact gun and give it a little spin so it could impact it inside with pressure. Okay, I'll be back with the video. After this, we're gonna reinstall the brace, the brace for the pads, and then we'll reinstall the caliper. The caliper needs to be open before we reinstall, so I'll come back and do that on video so you guys can know how it's done. Cool, be back with the video. Back to the video. Every time we're doing brake pads, don't forget, you have to re-grease the bolts, the ones that hold the bolt in place. That gives it pressure and it keeps your rotor alive for a long time. If you run this with no grease, eventually your rotor's gonna be eating up the pads sideways, and you're gonna have one side eaten more than the other. So it's very easy, it takes about 2 minutes. Make sure you re-grease it. You can use AutoZone grease. If you're a DIY doer, 1 package is enough for brake pads and all 4 bolts. You don't have to use a lot, but you gotta make sure it has some. All right, let's get to it. It's easy to remove the bolt. I already removed the top one. As you can see, it's here, and I cleaned it up. So we'll remove the lower one so you guys can see how it's done. And once it's removed, you take it out and you make sure you clean it. Now, always keep in mind the lower one is always different than the top one. So as you can see, lower one has a little grip on the bottom, upper one does not. So remember, this one's the bottom one. Do not confuse them. Bottom, top. Be back with the video in a minute. Okay, so we got the 2 bolts in, tied with the 1/2 inch, but since those bolts are very important and they hold the main bracket for the rotors, we have to tighten them up with a long wrench so we can apply pressure to them and they'll be super tight. So what we do is we hook them up right there and get in here. Make sure they go in by pressure. Remember, don't apply too much pressure because they might break. But you gotta make sure they're tight though. Okay, there we go. Safe and secure. Now we'll grab a set brake pads. Remember, the whistler always goes in the inner. The one without it goes in the outer. All right, so we'll open them up, grease them up, put them in. I'll come back before I open up the caliper, and we'll be done with this video. Okay, so we have a new brake pad, new rotor, all done and ready to go.